Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I am back with another first impressions. This morning on Twitter and Instagram, I asked you guys which foundation you wanted to see me test out first out of the 3 drugstore foundations I hauled earlier this week. And surprisingly, the L'Oreal Lumi Cushion won by a long shot, so that is what I'm going to be testing out and reviewing for you guys today. So be sure to follow me on social media if you aren't already. And I know that I said the IT Cosmetics CC Cream would be the next foundation type product I would be testing out. I am still going to be testing that out very soon for those of you who are interested. So if you saw my past couple first impressions or my acne vlog, which I just posted, you probably already know that my skin has been breaking out a lot lately. Finally, my breakout has calmed down. I'm just left with like a ton of like pigmentation and scarring, but most of what you see on my face, aside from like the odd active breakout, is just pigmentation. Like my skin, I know it looks awful right now, but if I touch it, it's actually really smooth. Don't worry, I just washed my hands, but it's actually very smooth. It's just the discoloration and redness that you're seeing. Yeah, I just wanted to update you guys on that quickly. Also, I always have all of my past first impressions linked in the down bar. I have quite a few now that I have done, and I am always taking requests. Lately though, a lot of people have been requesting foundations that I've already reviewed, so make sure to check the description bar if there is a foundation you want to see me test out in case I have already done it before. Anyways, like I said, today we are going to be testing out the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Cushion Buildable Luminous Foundation. I'm sure you guys have been seeing this all over the place recently. I haven't personally really seen anyone with like oily and acne prone skin like myself test it out though, so I'm very intrigued to see how it works for me. So before we jump into the application, let's quickly go through the kind of specifics for this product. So first of all, for the price, since I am Canadian, I got this at Shoppers Drug Mart. I did buy it on sale for $17.49. I'm not sure what the regular price is here in Canada. I think it's like early 20s. And then I checked the Ulta website and the US price was $16.99 on their website. So it is a fairly pricey foundation for the drugstore. I know everyone has been complaining about L'Oreal recently bumping up the prices on all of their products, and it is especially pricey given how much product you actually get in here. It is 0.51 ounces or 14.6 grams, so it's like I think roughly half the size of a regular foundation. So that brings me to my next point, which is packaging. So the packaging is a little plastic compact. I really like the packaging of it. It's got like a rose gold lid. You open it up and inside you have the little puff sponge. You open that up and then inside you have the cushion foundation. So this is kind of a westernized take on the Korean inspired cushion foundations. This style of foundation or BB cream has been like insanely popular in Asia, specifically in Korea, and now in like North America we're just kind of starting to adapt the formulation. So L'Oreal came out with one, obviously, MAC has, Physicians Formula, Lancome, a bunch of brands are coming out with them, and I'm sure we're going to start seeing more of them in the near future as well. I actually read that about 40% of the foundation market in Korea is these cushion foundations, so I thought that was really interesting. You can definitely tell that this is a really popular trend over there. So going back to the kind of size aspect of it, yes, the foundation is on a sponge, and I think this is making a lot of people worried that you're actually getting even less product. I think if you try this out, you'll be surprised how much product you can actually get off of these little sponges, but I mean, it is going to end up soaking up a little bit of the product in the long run. You will eventually have to like pull the sponge out and like flip it over and probably like scrape out the sides of the packaging and stuff, and when you get like really low, you'll probably have to take out the actual sponge and just use that to apply it. But anyways, in terms of shade, I was a little bit confused because I looked at Ulta's website first, and on Ulta there was 12 different shades in the range, but then when I looked at L'Oreal Canada's website, there was only 8. So I don't know if there's like a smaller shade range just in Canada. If any of you guys know, let us know in the comments down below. There was an okay range. I will say, however, though, if you're like really fair in porcelain with like a very prominent cool undertone, you're probably not going to find a good match because I chose the lightest shade and this is kind of like a warmer tone. For finish and coverage, the finish is supposed to be very fresh and luminous and kind of dewy as well, and then for coverage it says it is fully buildable and customizable coverage. However, if you look at like the actual website and look at it a little bit more, the most coverage it shows you getting is medium coverage. Also for claims, there wasn't a ton for this. The main things were that it's supposed to be air light and it's also supposed to be very travel friendly for touch-ups, which I forgot to mention. You actually do get a good size mirror in there if that's something that matters to you. So for application, you do get this little kind of puff sponge in here. I feel like everyone is immediately dismissing this kind of little sponge and just kind of throwing it out and not even trying it out. I am going to try it with the sponge at first and see how that works, and then if I need to, I'll go in with like a brush or beauty blender. I've seen people applying this with like literally everything imaginable. So I'm just going to clip my hair up. I will be right back and we will get started with the application. Alright, so I've already gone ahead and primed the left half of my face. Today I use the NYX Angel Veil Primer. So like I said, I am going to be starting off with the little sponge puff that is included. So I'm just going to press a little bit of that into the product, and then I'm just going to kind of like press and roll it onto my skin. I got some in my hair. The color is a little bit funky. It's definitely darker than I was expecting it to be. Like, it's definitely darker than like my neck and chest. And it definitely is very dewy and kind of luminous. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish off like one layer on my face. Okay, so that is kind of what one layer is looking like. It's definitely too dark for me. So if you are very fair, like very, very fair, you're probably not going to like this foundation because it might make you look a little bit orange. It is also like very like dewy and very wet looking. It is fairly sticky to the touch as well. Obviously, it's not providing like crazy coverage, but I'm going to kind of let this set for a minute and see if it dries down and then go in and try and build it up a little bit. The coverage isn't like terrible. Like, I wouldn't say it's like super light coverage, but it's definitely lighter coverage than I would like for a daily basis so far. So I'm gonna wait a couple seconds and just kind of let this sit and see if it dries down a little bit more. Alright, so I've just been chilling here for a few minutes to kind of let this foundation dry down. It did dry a little bit, but it's still slightly tacky to the touch. I'm gonna go in and try and build it up now and see, but so far I'm not loving it. I feel like this intense luminous finish is really drawing attention to like pores and things like that. Okay, so the coverage built up fairly well. Like, it ended up giving me a good amount of coverage, but it is just way too wet on my skin. It is just like really sitting on top of my skin. Intense kind of luminosity of it is drawing attention to pores, both on the prime side and the unprimed side. I don't see any difference between the two. I just look like a grease ball. Like, I don't know, maybe it settles better, like settles into your skin a little bit better if you have dry skin, but like this is just like too much. But it might look better when I add concealer and like powder and everything and kind of mattify that shine. So I'm going to do a close-up of the foundation just as it is right now. Then I'm gonna go ahead, add concealer and powder and everything, and I will come back and kind of update you guys and show you guys what it's looking like then and go from there. Okay, so I am back. Shout out to my curls for not even holding for like an hour. I don't know what happened there, so excuse my weird wavy messy hair. But this is what we are working with in terms of the foundation now. Setting it with a powder definitely helped the finish a lot because it just completely took away that kind of dewiness, which I feel like kind of negates the entire purpose of this foundation in the first place, since it's meant to be luminous and dewy, but I just was not having that. So what I used, for those of you who are curious, for concealer I use the NYX HD for eyes and highlighting. I use the Makeup Forever full cover on my blemishes and stuff, and a little bit like on here, but once I get close up again you'll see that the coverage isn't like super full, of course, which I wasn't expecting. And then I use Bare Minerals Well Rested around my eyes, and then NARS Siberia powder foundation to set my face because I needed something a little bit lighter. And I felt like it was still fairly pink when I applied it, but I don't know, maybe I'm blind, so I used something with a more neutral undertone to set it. It's definitely better than where I left off, but it is definitely not my favorite. It's getting very creasy and subtly around here. And I really don't notice a difference between the primed and unside primed of my face. I think it's like completely the same. It is like 1 p.m. right now, so we'll say the starting time is like 12:30 for when I started applying it. I'm gonna do another close-up like I usually do so you guys can see what it looks like all powdered and everything. And I'll go ahead and finish off the rest of my makeup and probably just like insert another close-up and do my check-ins throughout the day. And let's do the close-up. Alright, so it is time for check-in number 1. It is just before 5 o'clock now, so I've had this foundation on for roughly 4.5 hours now. This is what the foundation is looking like currently. Once I got the rest of my makeup on, it wasn't that bad, but I feel like it's just still average. Like, I was definitely able to get a decent amount of coverage from it in the end. I can't really complain about the coverage because it's marketed as like a medium coverage at most kind of foundation. So while it's not my ideal coverage necessarily, it definitely exceeds the expectations, I think. I'm fine with how it looks now. Like, it's definitely not the most flattering foundation or the best foundation for me that I've tried, but I'm not unhappy with it either. But one thing I want to address is I feel like the main purposes of this foundation is, one, the fact that it's supposed to be very lightweight. Now, this didn't feel heavy on my skin physically because it does have a very thin liquidy consistency, and even now with powder on top of it, it really doesn't feel like heavy makeup. But I feel like it looked heavy because it was just sitting on top of my skin and it wasn't really blending in. And the other purpose of this foundation was the luminous, dewy kind of finish, which was just too much on my oily skin. Like, I knew I was going to have to powder it, obviously, but I just wasn't expecting it to look so insanely like wet. I knew I'd need to powder it, but I wasn't expecting that I would need to load up on powder so much to dull down that intense shine. And I was just expecting that even once my makeup was set, that I would still have some kind of natural light reflecting kind of quality. I think if you have dry skin, some of it will probably absorb into your skin and you'll be left with kind of the right amount of luminosity. But since my skin is already well hydrated and oily, when I applied it, it just didn't really have anywhere to go. It was all just sitting right on the surface of my skin and wasn't blending in. It wasn't looking natural. So I can definitely see why this would work for some people, and honestly, I don't think it looks too bad on me at all. Like, I'm not unhappy with my makeup at all, but like I said, it's not like the perfect foundation for me, I don't think. But yeah, I think that was it for my first check-in. Of course, I will be doing a final check-in at the end of the day right before I wash off my makeup, so we will see how it wears by then. Nothing has really changed in terms of wear as of now, and I still don't see any differences between the primed and unprimed side of my face. So yeah, I will talk to all of you guys in my final check-in. Alright, so this is going to be my final check-in for the day. It's like 11:30 now, so I've had this foundation on for about 11 hours. I'm super tired. I'm in my pajamas, as I always am in my final check-in. I feel like this is just primarily going to be kind of like a wear kind of update to see what it looks like, because I feel like I kind of said most of the things I wanted to say about it in my first check-in. A lot has changed with it since then. I've just obviously gotten a bit oilier and a bit shinier, and it has worn off on the sides of my face just a tiny bit, but nothing too severe. And it's not even too oily either. Like, I think it still looks okay, and I could easily use my like Blotterazzi sponge and like put on a little bit of powder and it would be fine. So yeah, this foundation really ended up surprising me. I really wasn't liking it when I was first applying it, and it really surprised me with how much I ended up liking it throughout the day. I'm actually quite pleased. Like, at first I was like, okay, I'm going to have to return this, like I really don't like it. But now I'm like, okay, I could play around with this and probably make it work. It's not a favorite foundation of mine, like not a new favorite by any means, and it's not as much coverage as I would like on a regular basis. Like, you can still see my scarring and pigmentation through it. There was a time actually in like the middle of the day for probably like 3 or 4 hours where it actually looked really good, where like I was just trying to get like slightly oily so it wasn't like too matte with all my powder and everything. It was just more natural and it looked really good at that point, so that's kind of a weird thing. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I'll continue to use it and play around with it. Having tried it now, no, I would not repurchase it because it's just nothing that really wowed me, but I would say it is a good product, and I'll probably use that on more like my kind of down days where I just want like a little bit of coverage, or like if I'm at the cabin and want a little bit of makeup. That's probably more what I'll use it for. But to sum up, I think it is a good product and it really did surprise me in the end. But anyways, I hope you guys found this video helpful as always. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up because it really helps me out. Follow me on my social media platforms once again on Twitter and Instagram. And of course, if you aren't subscribed, don't forget to hit subscribe down below as well. And I will talk to all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys!